What's the truth, damn it? And he yells, I'm afraid. When he yelled, I'm afraid, I'm sitting on the couch eating dinner, and I'm fucking bawling my eyes out. I'm about to right now. Oh my God. Yeah. What's going on, everybody? How you doing? I'm back. What's going on, everybody? It's me, Caesar. I'm back with I don't even know what episode it is. Lost track after my 2-week hiatus. I think it might be episode like 9 or something like that. Whatever. There's 1,000 of these, so that's the goal. Next one, rolling on to the next one. I appreciate everyone taking the time to tune in to this one. It's the first one back after a couple weeks, but this one's going to be pretty eventful, pretty cool. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about, I don't know, some weightlifting, some fear, some goals, some good stuff. But all that matters is that you're here after 2 weeks and you don't hate me. How are you? How are you? I'm good. I'm definitely good. I missed you. I miss talking to everybody. I get nonstop shit from my dad for not taking all my podcast stuff to like big meets and I can't understand why. It's not like it's a good opportunity to talk to some good athletes. But the last meet that we did, I think we had spoken about it on like episode 7 or 8, something like that, was the under 25 national championship out in Las Vegas, and that was pretty cool. That was pretty fun. That was definitely a fun time. We were out there from we, as in like Bailey, Megan, Sage, and my homeboy Chris. We were all out there, and then my homegirl Mel, she came out there, and so did my other homegirl Jay. They all came out there. It was Jay's birthday, and they were gonna celebrate, but we were out there for weightlifting. So that was pretty fun. We were out there from Thursday to Monday morning. This is a pretty long vacation. It's pretty, it's like I don't know if you could really call it a vacation, because all we were doing was just sitting down and watching weightlifting, but training and eating. So it's kind of what we do regular. I mean, I wasn't at work, but I guess when you're trying to make weightlifting your work, it's kind of like work, I guess. But yeah, we drove out there Thursday afternoon. Took about 3.5 hours to get out there. We were doing like 95, so that was pretty cool. We got to the hotel. We stayed at the actual hotel, the Westgate. The Westgate was where it was held at. There's a significance to the Westgate too, because that's pretty important, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I was at the Westgate Hotel. That's where they had American Open Series 3 last year in September. That's where they had like 14 million weightlifters go and sign up and have sessions all the way to the Z session. That was pretty tight. So it was small and compacted. There were only 3. Sorry, gosh, I need to take a drink. Excuse me. I'm gonna take a drink of this bourbon. Okay, that was a mistake. All right. So it was condensed down to. Oh, that's warm. Oh, it's warm in my chest. It was condensed down to 3 platforms on the. I guess when you're walking in on the left side, the red, white, and blue platforms. USA, Team USA, and then on the right side they had the. What was it? Was it the Youth Worlds or the Junior Worlds? There was a lot of people. There was a lot of people coming from different countries, that was pretty tight. Just seeing all these kids that are much better than all of us just walk around and just go and lift on all the USACA stuff. It was cool. There was just a lot to the weekend. A lot to the weekend. There's half of it was set up for U25 and U25, like University Nationals, all that kind of stuff. So we lifted on the Rogue equipment on the far side. Last year, the training hall was in the bigger pavilion, the bigger conference hall. It was taken up by the Youth Worlds this year. So there were the Youth Worlds and the International Open, the Vegas Open. So a lot of Team USA and a lot of the good athletes were there to put their name down for the Olympic qualifier to help their chances for Tokyo. But it was split up. So a lot of them were training over there on the big part of the hall, all the USACO equipment, and then us little U25ers, we were over on the other side, and we were competing on the Rogue stuff. So it was pretty cool. I mean, it was a really fun weekend. We got to sit around and eat and lift weights and train and do all the stuff that I love doing. I wish I could do that stuff every day. Just that. I had other stuff to do. But yeah, it was definitely good time. I think the only issue, I would say I'd rate the weekend like a 9 out of 10. The only issue was that my hotel room that I shared with Bailey and Megan was hot as shit. We were on the 26th floor, and oh my God, it was so hot. Like, we walked in, and normally I'm the kind of guy who walks into a hotel room. I'm gonna set that thermostat all the way down to 48 if I could. I set it down, but I was sweating the entire weekend. Nothing got cool. Yeah, it was pretty warm. It's pretty warm in this room right now. Oh my God. For everybody who is following along visually on YouTube, all 3 of you, you can kind of see in front of me that there's some cool little necklaces. I guess I paid for them. I paid the registration fee, but there's some cool little necklaces, for let's say USA weightlifting, and those necklaces, those are the medals that I had won over the weekend. Let me see. They're pretty heavy. See if I can make some noise with them. They're pretty heavy. I ended up coming away with a bronze medal in the snatch. Definitely was not my best snatch day, but what are you gonna do when your wrist hurts and you're coming off of a wrist injury and you don't do snatch balances or any overhead work for 6 months? You can't fucking snatch at all. A silver for overall total in the U25 category. So for plus 109 in the U25 category, I came in second overall. With not my best total, definitely not my worst, but not my best. I think it was like 316, 317. David George kind of smacked my ass, and it definitely didn't let me forget it with his 150 snatch. That dude's he's a really talented weightlifter. I think he's coming off an injury too, so it's really cool to see, how fast of a recovery he's made coming back, and samesies for me. And I guess the medal that I'm most proud of is the gold medal. That's pretty tight. The gold medal that I got for clean and jerk, and that medal means a lot to me for a couple different reasons. I guess we can start. Yeah, I mean, I guess we can just kind of go into it. We'll start from the very beginning. 6 months ago, 6 months ago exactly, on Sunday the 16th. So it was like 5 months and a couple weeks. We were out at the American Open Series 3, so the one that I had mentioned previously, with the 14,000 weightlifters all coming out, which is good for the USA. You know, it's excellent for them. You know, new weightlifters, new talent. There's nothing better than that. Just sports coming up, sports getting popular. That's excellent. So we were at the American Open Series 3. And it was same hotel, same Westgate hotel, same platform too, the white platform. You know, being a big guy, I'm not going to compete until Sunday. Every day, and it was actually every single time I'm not going to compete until Sunday. And the other cool thing about it was that it was my first A session ever since I've started weightlifting. I've only been in two A sessions, and the most recent one being the second one. But the first A session that I was ever in was the American Open Series 3, and that one was the one that I'm talking about now. You know, it was cool. It was a lot of new pressure. I was going up against guys like, I'm not sure how to say his last name. It's Kaiser Whitty, that dude who trains with Alex Lee and Shaheen, like those guys. Like, those guys are really good. He's a very strong individual. He went out to Worlds. Like, he's a good, nice guy. He's a gentle giant. That guy's super tall, but he's super nice. He's very strong. I was going up against guys like that, and, you know, what's his name? Just realistically, just a bunch of guys that have been in the sport longer than I have, are older than I am, you know, have that experience. I just felt like I was out of my league. So that being said, I wanted to prove a point that, yeah, I'm only 21, and I was on the books 21 at the time. So I'm the youngest person there. You know, going toe to toe with these guys, and it kind of felt like Rocky Balboa, and we'll definitely talk about that. But so I was competing with these guys, and snatches didn't go so well. Same thing. I made the snatches. I made my first snatch at 143. 143, what is that? I can't do the math. Oh, poop. That's 315 pounds, so 143 kilos. I made I think I missed or made the first snatch. I made the first one, got red lighted because of my elbow. Second one, I missed it behind me. I made the last one. And on clean and jerk, we went 180. I missed the first one. 180 again. I made that one, so I posted a total. And then for whatever reason, call it, you know, blind and sheer intensity, or just that kind of naivety that you get for being young and dumb and courageous. I wanted to make a big jump, kind of make a big statement, because I had almost made it in training a couple weeks prior, and the personal best was 187 kilograms. So we decided to go from 180 to 190. Sage and I decided to go from 180 to 190. That's a decision that we both made, and try to take a risk. I mean, it wouldn't have, if I would have made it, I believe I would have gotten third place at American Open Series 3 with really good guys there. And that was cool. That was something that was amazing. I would love to have done that. But it didn't happen. It didn't come to fruition. And I pulled the shit out of it kind of really slowly. It was like a deadlift to a hit off my hips, go up 2 inches and try to do my best to sneak under it. And you're not supposed to sneak under a clean. My left arm came around it, wrapped around it, and I front racked it on the left side, but my right elbow just a tad little bit slow. And I ended up hitting my right elbow on my right knee, which caused all the weight, all 419 pounds of it, to just smash into my left wrist and just mash it all, just push it all back. Like, if you can, most people can't. You could try to touch your thumb to your wrist, or like thumb to your forearm. That's what the bar kind of forced me to do. Like that whole thumb, forefinger, and middle finger, that whole area, small bones of my wrist, all that stuff was just kind of mashed and tore up, and it was just shitty. It was my first real injury in the sport. The first really big injury in the sport that almost took me out. Yeah, and I'm like, I mean, I've talked to afterwards. Like I've spoken to people that are, family members of my coach, and like her brother Casey, and her sister-in-law Natalie. Like, they both had the same kind of wrist injury. Natalie actually broke her wrist doing it, and that's something that happened when she was younger. I believe when she spoke to me, it happened when she was really young, and she made a full recovery, and then ended up going to the Olympics. It's like it's something that was possible to overcome. Casey did the same thing. Like, he got injured pretty much the same exact way, and came back and kicked ass, and really managed to do his best with that injury. And that was, and I'd spoken to them directly because they had come out to visit, and that was good to hear. Just knowing that you just got to take time with that injury. Just let it heal and take time. And I remember after getting hurt, just kind of sitting there and dropping from, I was in fourth place, from dropping to fourth place down to fifth place. And after Kaiser came up and clean and jerk, I think, to like 216, something like that, to qualify for Worlds. It was cool. It was really cool. I remember being proud of my performance. Fifth place in an A session at any competition with the top guys. That's a really good thing to do, regardless of situation. That's a really good outcome. And yeah, I was definitely proud of myself for doing it. But I was still hurt. Like, my wrist was hurt. The following day, that Monday, we had packed up from our Airbnb, left, had iced it, all that stuff. And USAW does a really good job at having their health and fitness and like their medical team in the back. And I talked to a couple people, and they told me it's definitely messed up. There's definitely some issues with it. Don't know what extent you have to go to the doctor, but they took care of me. So shout out to USAW. What's up? Yeah, they fixed me up for a little bit, and then the next day I drove home from Vegas, and that was without a doubt the longest car ride ever. Because, there's nothing for the first couple hours leaving Vegas. Like the first 3 hours until you hit like Barstow and those California cities, there's nothing but desert and sand and all that stuff. So it's just kind of sitting there, and I'm driving, just sitting there thinking to myself, like, fuck, like I almost had it. Like watching the video, I almost had it. Like I can't believe it. Like I can't believe I missed it. Like I can't believe I missed it. I can't believe any of this. Like I'm fucking hurt. I was pissed. I was sad. I was disappointed. There's a lot of things that can happen to you mentally after something like that, like an injury, something that takes you out from what you do. There's something that really fucks with your core and who you are as a person up to that point. And the funny thing about it was like going up to that point, and I remember that meet because I remember being truth be told, and this is something that I want to be completely honest about. Truth be told, going into that meet, I had prepped properly. I had done the work, I had done the program, I had done what I was supposed to do. When I was at the meet, competing in the back room, doing all this stuff, warming up between attempts, all that stuff, I was fucking around. Like I was dicking around and not paying attention, not focusing as much as I should have. There's a lot of things that I could have done different. There's a lot of things that I could have focused on better, my movement, all that stuff. But no, I was just in the back being a little slapdick 21-year-old kid who's competing with the big dogs, want to show them who I am, and I'm not doing a good job. Not representing myself, my team, my coach, all that stuff. So I that was a huge kick in my ass after I had gotten hurt, because I knew that was a big factor. I don't know if Patrick remembers this, but Patrick and I were sharing a platform in the back, and it's always cool because him and I have competed several meets together. But Patrick, I do apologize if when we were in the back room I said or did anything that was disrespectful to. I didn't disrespect him. I didn't say anything to him, but for the conduct of being in a back room, I should have behaved better with someone who was performing. Patrick went 6 for 6 that day, and I almost broke my wrist. So that comes with knowledge. That comes with learning the sport. That comes with learning about your competitors and all that stuff. Because Patrick is a really good weightlifter, and I'm glad to have competed with him. I'm glad that he kicked my ass. But it's that was definitely something that messed with me. It's pride. It's that pride that you have for everything that you do. It's coming back, and it's stinging. It's what is it? Pulp Fiction. He's like, you feel that sting. That's pride fucking with you. And that's what it was. It was all the pride that I had as a young, cocky asshole. It came back to me in a way that I didn't think it was going to. Because I did think I was indestructible. I did think that up until that point, I had done nothing but progress and get better and better and better. And I know that, and that could be the case with anything that you do. Work, art. I mean, art probably not, because there's going to be a lot of times where you have to grind really hard. But anything that you do that you want to have as a career, your passion, you're going to have to struggle. You're going to have to fail, and you're going to have to eat a bunch of shit. And I hadn't really done that up until that point. It was just kind of handed to me because I'm naturally strong, naturally athletic. But when faced with the challenge of getting hurt and that adversity, oh my God, was that the worst thing that I've ever had to do? Absolutely. Because that was the first time that I had been challenged with that. Training's hard. Training's hard. Competitions are hard. Pressure and all that stuff, that's all hard. But it's not you get injured or you stop 100%. And now it's life coming crashing down on you going, what are you made of? Who are you? What are you doing now? Anyway, back to, driving back. A lot of it was just silent. I was talking to Bailey. I was driving. She was in the passenger seat, but not too much talking, not too much anything, because I'm just sitting there in my fanny pack full of feelings, and not really doing anything about it. I'm just sitting there going, wow, this is where we're at now. I'm just bum. I'm just hurt. That's it. So we get, back to our apartment. It was just her and I living together, and we get back to our apartment, and that was just kind of it. We were moving out in a month, so it was a really shitty time after that. And not to dive too deep into it, but it just adds to the whole theme, the whole way, the whole cue of what I'm trying to say. So I'd gotten hurt on that Sunday. We drove back home on Monday, and on Tuesday I was let go from a job. I was let go from my primary job, my main job. And that sucked. Truth be told, I didn't enjoy the job. I didn't really enjoy being there. I learned a lot, and I'm very grateful for the time that I spent there, and the connections I've met, and the people that I work with. Absolutely. But as far as the actual work, that was something that I was not equipped for, and it came back to bite me in the ass. And yeah, I did my best, but I got fired, which is kind of like the recurring theme of what happened over the prior weekend, where, I felt like I did my best at the time. I felt like I did my absolute best, but it wasn't enough. So following day, same thing. I felt like I did my best at the job that I possibly could, and then I got fired. And then I missed out on a good opportunity. It was a company that I was working for, but I missed out on an opportunity with them because I had let a lot of, basically I just made a bunch of excuses, and I made a bunch of excuses as to why I couldn't do things. And it's the same thing. I thought I had done my best, but I didn't. So that last one was more my fault than anything. All three of them were my fault, but that last one was definitely I had more control over that situation, and I kind of blew that one. So I got injured. I lost both jobs that I was working with, and then I was just kind of sitting there again, digging into my fanny pack of misery and just pulling out every excuse, every reason, every person to be mad at, every reason as to why it didn't work, every whatever. I didn't train enough. I didn't train enough. I didn't focus in on training. I had a lot of bad days. My program was too short. Or, the jump between the two times, I think I might have been a short program, something. And then I started getting mad at people. I started getting mad at my dad. I started getting mad at my teammates. I started getting mad at my coach. I started getting mad at everybody. And I didn't pinpoint it. The fact that a lot of it is just my fault. You got to take responsibility. You got to take a lot of responsibility when things go bad. Because if you start pointing fingers at other people, you start pointing fingers at, I'm not the way I am, or I am the way that I am, or I didn't succeed because of you, because of this, you're in for a rough time, bro. Sis, what's up? you're in for a really rough life if you don't take responsibility for your actions. So, long story short, after losing jobs, I had to go back to a job that, was good. Opportunity, just went back. So I kind of went back with my tail between my legs and had to make the best of the situation, which is the job that I'm still at now. Went to the doctor, got an MRI, looked at my wrist, and nothing broken. So there's nothing broken in the small bones of my wrist. Although my my PT and Murray from Olympus Movement Performance in Vista, California, give them a shout out. I didn't give them a call. Go see them because they're really good. She looked at it and she's like, "Yeah, there's probably something wrong in there. There's definitely something wrong in there." I don't think they diagnosed it right, but that's neither here nor there. But she looked. So I went to the doctor. Nothing was broken. Air quotes around broken. Nothing was torn, but it hurt, man. There was nothing that I can do with that wrist, with that hand for a while. And that was a big bummer because whatever it is that you choose to do, whether it's training, whether it's cooking, writing, podcasting, filming, whatever it is that you do, if you're forced to not do it, I can 80% of the time, every time, you're gonna miss it and you're gonna feel like shit because you don't do it. And I've always done that. I've always felt that way. Like if I don't train, I fall into a really shitty depression and it just gets really bad, and then my fanny pack of misery just gets even bigger and more excuses. So that's what ended up happening. I just kind of took it out on everybody else. It just was a big poopy pants asshole that didn't want to talk to anybody, didn't want to do anything, didn't want to interact with anybody, and it was just because I got hurt. I didn't train for maybe 2 weeks. I didn't move at all for like 2 weeks. And around this time we were moving back from our apartments back into my dad's house, so I couldn't pack anything. I was moving with one arm. It was the most frustrating time of my life. That was the absolute worst. We moved back to my dad's house, and then shortly after that, we got our own home gym. Started acquiring all these all the pieces of wood and the equipment from PR lifting. I got myself the same bar at the competition, the Pyros bar from Rogue. That bar's really good. Even though I couldn't do anything with that, just sit there and look at it. And finally went to the doctor again, my primary, after going to the ER. After that, they referred me over to the orthopedic. I went to the orthopedic. The orthopedic told me, you can lift weights again gradually. You just got to be smart about it. But what we're going to want to do, we're going to want you to get an MRI, go, and we'll see the results and see what happens. So she referred me to get the MRI. I got the MRI, came back after a couple days. Like it was about 2 weeks. So I didn't move at all. I didn't move at all for about a month. Finally, I got a call early in the morning one day from the doctor, and they say they want to put a cast on my arm because they want to isolate it. And I get the cast on. They put an orange cast on my wrist. I missed that thing. No, not really. But they put an orange cast on my wrist, and I'm immobilized for about a week. And I have to be in the cast for a month. But they put me in the cast for a week, and I'm like, cool, okay. Everything else feels okay. I don't really have to use this arm. So I get back to moving, get back to squatting, get back to that kind of stuff. And after a week, I kind of ruined my cast and broke it because I didn't use enough material. So I had to go get it replaced. And I got 2 casts. But I got a nice big blue one that was sturdy and didn't move. That one was the one that worked. So after that, I was in the cast for about a month. So went back to an old job, sitting here with a cast. Haven't moved at all, and I'm just being a real big poopy pants. I have this really big poopy pants mentality. This big poor me, woe is me kind of life at that moment. But I know I was probably a real big pain in the ass to be around, and I apologize to my teammates. I apologize to my girlfriend and my dad. I apologize to my coach. I apologize to everybody. I wear my heart, and I wear my heart on my sleeve, and that was a really rough time for me. So fast forward to getting the cast off. I got the cast off. All I was doing at that point was just squatting. Was doing too much, and I get referred to go to like physical therapy, but I know my place is probably much better. So I went, and I absolutely 100% better, because the first thing that Anne Marie told me was, why did they put you in a cast? They should not have put you in a cast. So I started getting work done, and gradually over time, was seeing what we could do as far as mobility. So afterwards, after getting work done, I would go every 2 weeks, and then I finally started moving around. I started doing different things. I started, instead of just squats, I would do pulls and other stuff. No conventional lifts, nothing really too big, because I did not want to hurt myself. And now this is about September, October, November. This is about November, probably like late October, early November, where I start doing close grip stuff. And I started doing close grip stuff because keeping stuff close grip doesn't crank on your wrists as much. So I was just doing like close grip snatch balances, push presses, just really light snatch stuff with close grip. And I started making progress again really fast. Like I started coming back really fast and being really, really comfortable under the bar with lightweight, and just started moving again. And I was happy again. I was doing my best when I was at my absolute worst. And I was at that time, there was nothing to prove. I just wanted to do it. I just wanted to get back to what it was that I loved doing. So through the month of November, just doing nothing but snatch stuff, and I ended up coming back and made some serious progress, where over the course of the month and a half, towards the middle of like December, I started snatching again and started getting up to the heavier weights, like back up to like 110 and 120. And it was crazy. Everyone was like, dude, you're making some crazy wicked progress. Like, it's insane. Like, it's good to be like, you're lucky you're super young and super malleable. But yeah, I did. I was moving really well and moving heavier weight really fast. And I was very happy with that. The fact that I didn't lose anything. I hadn't clean and jerked. I did not do any clean and jerks until January 1st of 2019. So January 1st, 2019, we do the first clean and jerk, and it was really light. Just started moving around, and again, I'm like, okay, I'm finally getting to the place where I'm coming back, and I'm still dealing with the recourse of that depression just kind of crumbling off and just kind of peeling off of me, where it's like, okay, I'm back to doing what it is that I like to do. I'm happy. But at the same time, I'm really not, because I'm still angry and and I didn't know it at that point, but I was still afraid. I was more angry than anything. And I was more angry at everybody else still. Over the next couple months, we started making pretty big progress on snatch and clean and jerk. I was hitting close to about 130s on snatch, and pretty much like the 80% range of where I used to be, and on clean and jerk going back up to like 160, which is still like 75-80%. And then finally came time to actually test how heavy we can go. And I had worked my way up to about 175, 385 pounds. And I had done it for the first time. I would say maybe a month into January. We're in March, January, February, March. Towards the end of January. Yeah, towards the end of January. Probably start of February, where I had started clean and jerking heavier again. Right at like that 85, 90%. And I could not, for the life of me, put any other weight on the bar. Anything over 175 kilograms absolutely terrified me. Like, I have never been more afraid of anything than a bar with 180 kilos on it. 180. Okay, I looked at the bar, and I the feeling that you get, when like you miss when you miss a phone call from like your parents. That's probably a shitty analogy. When you miss the top step or the bottom step of the stairs and you're in free fall for like a second, but that feeling in your gut when you're just, every time I would look at the bar, that's what I felt. So over the course of the month of February, I had attempted it maybe 10 to 20 times, somewhere in between there. And every single time, whether it was at Coach B's house, whether it was at my own house, wherever I was, CrossFit, Marietta, anywhere, any gym that I was in, whoever was around me, every single time I clarked it. I stopped. Like, I pulled it up. I pulled it up higher than I needed to get under it, but every single time that it got past it, I could not get under it. I was so terrified and so intimidated by that weight that I never thought that I would be a good weightlifter again. And then everything started getting worse. There was a period of time, there's definitely a period of time over the course of the last 6 months where I wanted to quit several times. I'd wake up in the morning and I would just think to myself, I have to train for what? It's never going to come back. I'm not going to come back. I'm just going to be me again. Just whoever I was before weightlifting, that's who I'm going to be again. And that was, I thought that's who I was going to end up being. I thought that's what I was going to do. And that was a really painful thought, because I don't, I aside from, you know, my girlfriend and my family and this podcast, like, I don't love anything else. Family, family being my team as well. I don't love anything else more than weightlifting, because weightlifting has made me who I am today. And it was something that I was thinking about giving up on. It got really bad. It got really bad to the point where I did not want to talk to any of my teammates. I didn't want to talk to my coach. I did not want to look at a bar. I wanted to forget about it, but I couldn't pull myself away from it. After, when was it? I think it might have been a week or two before. I think it may have been openers. Yeah, it was openers the weekend prior to going out to the competition. I had tried it maybe 6 times in a row. We built up to 175. Then put 180 on. I clarked it 2 or 3 times. Broke down. Built back up. Again, clarked it 3 or 4 times. It was constant. It was nothing. It had nothing to do with my body and had everything to do with my mind. I could not do it. And I don't know if anybody out there just knows what that feels like. I don't know if anyone out there knows what that petrifying state of fear feels like. But after the third time that I clarked it, I remember picking it up, slamming it in the ground because I knew I couldn't do it, walking outside and just kind of hunching over, and my hands were shaking. Like, my hands were shaking, and I started hyperventilating. I started crying, and it was one of those moments where I realized that fear that I have is real, and it's nothing that I had ever felt before. But, fear is one of those driving forces in your life where if you don't get scared, if you don't have that fear, if you don't have the fear towards what you're doing, you're not moving in the right direction. So you need that fear to keep you aligned. You need that fear to keep you alive. So that was the weekend prior. So that whole build up, the injury, getting hurt, losing both jobs, losing pretty much everything. I was just terrified of who I was at that point, because I was not me. I was definitely somebody else. I was someone that I'd never want to be again. I was someone who was crippled by so much fear and anxiety and depression that I'd given up the sport. That I almost given up on the sport that is supposed to challenge you. And that's why I love it so much. That's why anybody loves what they do so much. If you're an artist, you're going to relish in the fact that one day you were selling paintings at a fucking coffee shop to try to get your next meal, and eventually something paid off. Or you're an artist like my friend Ben, like a music producer. He's been hustling and grinding. He's starting from the same place that we work at. We both work at the tuxedo place. But this kid is making some serious moves, and he's scared, but he's gonna relish in the fact that one day he started at the same place. He started at the same place that I did. Him and I talk all the time about how when we get there, we're gonna get there and we're gonna sit back and we're gonna be like, "Yep. You remember when we were sitting at the tuck shop and we were just sitting there talking shit about when we got here?" Like, if you're not moving, if you're not scared about change, you're not scared about moving forward, what you're doing must not be very exciting. It must not be very emotionally investing. You must not love it like you should. So after being a big bitch and being really scared and intimidated by life at that moment, there's this movie. It's a little movie. It's called Rocky. Rocky 3. Rocky 3. There's the premise. I mean, Rocky 1, he's an underdog. He's this bum going around beating people up for small little gangster. You know, he gets a shot at the title. And he goes and he gets his fucking ass kicked. But the important part of Rocky 1 is the fact that and I'm going to do a whole episode on all the Rocky movies because they're great and what the purpose of them is. But yeah, Rocky 1, he's an underdog and he goes the distance. He goes and he goes toe-to-toe with Apollo Creed, the world heavyweight champion, and Rocky gets fucking ass kicked, but he didn't want to leave the fight without putting everything that he had out there. And that's the importance of that. He went the distance. Rocky 2 is kind of piggybacking off of that one where he almost did it. And now it's time to do it. And if you haven't seen the movie, I guess spoiler alert, what? The movie's been out since the fucking 80s. So he beats Apollo in number 2. And then after that, in the premise of Rocky 3, he has 10 title defenses for, the belt. He's a world champion. He's the heavyweight champion of the world, and life is good for him and Adrian and their son, little Rocky Robert, or Robert Rocky Balboa. Did you know Rocky's first name was Robert? I didn't. That was a weird thing to look up. But Rocky 3 is a little bit different. And Rocky 3 was the first time that the song "Eye of the Tiger" was introduced to the world. I think maybe I don't know. You can't quote me on that, but it was definitely a big theme in that movie. Rocky is at this point at the top, at the highest that he's ever been. 10 title defenses. He's a excellent fighter, world champion, whatever. And he's getting comfortable. He's getting complacent, he's getting cocky, he's being a little shit. And he's good enough to kind of coast by on it. So, he's doing all that weird dumb shit with, going and fighting Hulk Hogan as a wrestler and doing all that stuff. But then you see this guy, Clubber Lang, Mr. T, I pity the fool. He comes out of nowhere, and this dude's a fucking killer. Like, this dude he's hungry, like number one contender in the world, and Mick doesn't want Rocky to fight him. There's a small confrontation, and Rocky kind of asks Mick if he can fight him, and Mick is like, yeah, you can fight him, just without me. It's not going to be with me. And then they leave, and blah, blah, blah. Rocky talks to Mick, and he asks Mickey, why'd you leave? Why can't I fight this guy? He's like, because the 10 fights that you had before were hand-picked fights. They were good fighters, but they were hand-picked, which ultimately means, like, It means the 10 title defenses he had were they the best fighters for that job. He had 10 fights that he thought that he beat him single-handedly because they were the contenders, and it turns out it was just bullshit. It was just a lie that Mickey told, and he'd pick these fighters, and he won. He won. He's a world champion. So Mickey, and that kind of fucks with Rocky, because he's like, you know, if they weren't real, you know, am I real? Am I a real fighter? And Mickey tells him, yeah, you were. They were good fighters. But he doesn't want him to fight Clubber because this guy will kill him. Like, Clubber will fucking destroy him. And he wants to do it anyway. So Rocky convinces him to let him do it. He does it. And then during the fight, at the very beginning, before the fight, Rocky and Clubber, they kind of walk up to each other, and then like they blows are thrown, and someone hits Mickey, and Mickey starts having a heart attack, and they take him to the locker room, and Mickey's in the locker room just sitting there dying. Rocky goes out, and he gets his fucking shit kicked in, just obliterated. Like, Clubber knocks him the fuck out in round 3. He knocks him out, beats the shit out of him, takes that belt. He's like, hey, Rock, you little bitch, give me that belt. Takes it, and Rocky goes back to the locker room, and Mickey's there just dead. Like, he goes, he says bye, like, he just dies. And Rocky's fucking upset. He's super upset, and he's super depressed because I mean, were those fights real? That's the big question. Is, were those fights? If I'm not a fighter, if I didn't fight the best person, am I really the world champion? You know, Mickey's gone. Am I real? That's his whole thing. Am I a real champion? So then, fast forward to later on, Rocky's kind of driving around on his motorcycle. He goes to Mickey's old gym, and Apollo's there, and Apollo tells him, hey, I don't like this Clubber guy either. We can beat him. This is what we got to do. He talks to him about how when Apollo was at one point where he was a world champion, and then he got complacent, and then Rocky came along and beat the shit out of him because he had that eye of the tiger. He had that grit, and he had that want, that drive, that purpose to be a real fighter. And that's why Rocky won. Because that complacency is the death of every person. Every person. If you're not innovating, if you're not busting your ass, if you're not thinking, what's next? How do we get there? That's the death of who you are as an athlete, as an artist, as a person, as anybody. So they train, they agree to do the fight, and then Apollo takes Rocky and Adrian and Paulie. Hey, Paulie. He takes Paulie out to LA to Apollo's first gym. And they start training, and Rocky's not being really receptive to the training. He's just being a big old bitch and he's moping around, can't move. He's a big fucking gangly white guy. He's just moving around, just a big meatball. And Apollo's, fucking athlete, great shape. Rocky doesn't seem like he's in the best shape. Either he's not in the best shape or he doesn't want it. Turns out he doesn't want it. And that was the hardest part, where, everyone there is rooting for him, but he doesn't want it. So throughout the small training montages, the small ones, Rocky's trying, but he's not really trying. You can see it. He's going through the motions. He's there, but he's not really there. And I watched this movie the weekend before the meet. And I was like, what the fuck? If I have never related to anything so much other than watching Rocky be there but not really be there. I couldn't pinpoint what my training was like. I couldn't pinpoint what it was like over the last 6 months, but when I saw that, I was like, that's me. That was me up until that point. No passion, no fire, no nothing. There's no eye of the tiger. There was nothing. I was just going through the motions. Just sitting there, going through the motions, not doing a goddamn thing to get better. I was just hoping that one day it would click. So, finally, they're on the beach. Apollo's racing Rocky, and Rocky just stops midway. He's having these little flashbacks these flash forwards, or just little the fear thoughts in your mind, the thoughts in your mind that are invasive, the thoughts in your mind that are invasive and take up all that space, where if you don't shut that shit down quick, they fester and they grow like a disease. And it's terrible. That's exactly what happened. To me, it was just festering in my mind. Like the snippets of what Rocky was saying was him being knocked out and falling on the ground and dying, and Mickey dying, and Adrian crying. It's just a bunch of terrible, awful shit that was just happening that hadn't happened yet. There's a chance that it could have, but wasn't. But that's what he was afraid of. So he slows down. Rocky runs. Apollo keeps running. Rocky slows down and just stops. He just stands there. And Apollo turns around and he's like, "What's the matter with you?" He just yells at him, like, "What's the matter with you?" And this is where it all changed for me. The Sunday, it was the Saturday or the Sunday before. That was the weekend prior. We had heavy singles on that. Yeah, openers for me were on Sunday. So we try to hit those openers on Sunday, and then I had work, and then I came back home, and then we watched this movie, and that's what happened. The turning point in the movie, which is without a doubt probably one of the better speeches that I've heard in a movie, was the scene when Adrian walks up to Rocky and she asks him, "What's the matter?" Well, she asked, really, the question she asked him is, "Why did we come out here?" And he says that he doesn't want it anymore. And she says, "If it's over because you want it to be over, good. I'm glad." And he says again, he's like, "I just don't want it." And she says, "As long as I've known you, you've never quit anything." And then he starts talking about how those fights weren't real. The fights that he had weren't real. The 10 title defenses that he had that Mickey had set up for him were not real. And if those weren't real, he's not real. He doesn't believe in himself. He doesn't believe in his capability, who he is as a fighter, as a person. And that's the thing, when you're a fighter and you don't believe in yourself, that's it. It's over. He's finished. That's it. And Adrian asks him that. He's like, what do we have that can't be replaced? because he previously said he doesn't want to lose what he has. And she says, what do we have that can't be replaced? We have a house, we have cars, we have money, we have everything but the truth. What's the truth, damn it? And he yells, I'm afraid. When he yelled, I'm afraid, I'm sitting on the couch eating dinner, and I'm fucking bawling my eyes out. I'm about to right now. Oh my God. He said that he was afraid. And I resonated with that because I was afraid too. I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of losing everything that I had again. So I had lost my talent, my ability, my jobs. I felt like I lost my teammates, my coaches. I felt like I lost everything because I got hurt. And trying to do that weight again, I felt the same exact way. The weight feels the same, and I was just afraid that I was going to lose everything. You know what? I think let me do this, because it's probably better that I just read it. I'll read the whole scene if I can do that. Rocky 3 beach scene script. Oh, that's very... Oh my gosh, that's a lot of spaces. There we go. Found it. Okay. So here's the transcript, and I can read it. Thank you for being patient with me. There was a lot of silence for the last couple seconds. But here it is. She asks him, "Can I talk to you? And I want to ask you something important. I want you to tell me the truth. Why'd you come here? I just don't want it no more. If it's over because you want it to be over, then I'm glad." And he says, "I do. It's just that you've never quit anything since I've known you." And he responds with, "I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, what happened? How did everything that was so good get so bad?" And she says, "Well, what's so bad? Tell me. What?" And then he responds, I wrecked everything by not thinking for myself. Why couldn't Mickey tell me where it really was from the start? He didn't have to carry me and lie to me and make me think I was better than I was when I wasn't. And she says that he never lied. He's like, those fights weren't right, Adrian. I never fought anybody in their prime. There was always just some angle to keep the title longer than I should have had it. Do you understand? And she says, you got to understand that he loved you, and that was his job, protecting you. And then Rocky says, protecting doesn't help anything. It makes things worse. You wake up one day thinking that you're a winner, but you're not. You're really a loser. So we wouldn't have had the title as long. So what? At least it would have been real. And she says it was real. And then this is the important part. Nothing is real if you don't believe in who you are. I don't believe in myself anymore. When a fighter doesn't believe he's finished, that's it. And she says, that's not it. Why don't you tell me the truth? And he says, and I say this part to Bailey a lot. She's like, what are you putting me through, Adrian? You want to know the truth? I don't want to lose what I got. At first, I didn't care about what happened. I'd go into the ring, I'd get busted up. But now there's you, there's the kid. I don't want to lose what I got. And then she says, well, what do we have that can't be replaced? What? A house, we got cars, we got money, we got everything but the truth. What's the truth, damn it? I'm afraid. All right? You want to hear me say it? You want to break me down? I'm afraid. For the first time in my life, I'm afraid. And yeah, that was the point that really turned for me personally. I thought, this is me talking, but yeah, I was sitting there crying my fucking eyes out because that was me. So back to the script. Adrian's afraid. She says that she's afraid too, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's like, there is for me, there is. And she says, why? You're human, aren't you? I don't know what I am. I know I'm a liar, and because of that, Mickey ain't here no more. And then she says, you didn't push him in anything. He was a grown man. He did what he had to do, and you have no right to feel guilty that you don't. You were a champion. You did what you were expected to do. You did what everyone thought that you should do. And you want to tell me that those fights weren't real, and I don't believe it. But it doesn't matter what I believe, because you got to carry that fear inside of you. Afraid everybody will take things away, that you'll be remembered as a coward, that you're not a man anymore. Well, none of it's true. But it doesn't matter if I tell you, because you're the one that's got to settle it. Get rid of it. Because when the smoke clears and they stop chanting your name, it's just going to be us. And you can't live like this. We can't live like this, because it's going to bother you for the rest of your life. Look what it's doing to you now. Apollo thinks you can do it. So do I. But you got to do it for the right reasons. Not for the guilt over Mickey, and not for the people, not for the title, not for the money or me, but for you. Just you and just you alone. And then he says, and if I lose, then you lose. But at least at least you lose with no excuses, no fear. And I know that you can live with that. You know, and Bailey was sitting on the couch right next to me, and the last couple lines of Mushy, he goes, how'd you get so tough? And she's like, I live with a fighter. And he's like, I really love you. I love you too. And I'm very fortunate to have my own personal Adrian in my own life. Someone who's not afraid to call me out on my shit like her. But that was the turning point for me. Because yeah, I was afraid that everyone was going to take everything away from me again. I was afraid that I was going to lose. And when I say lose, I was afraid that I was going to get hurt. I was going to lose everything, because I had lost everything when I got hurt the first time. And that was not going to sit well with me. I knew that it was going to be an issue. I knew that there was going to be a problem. And it was a whole week away, so I had a week to prepare mentally. Long story short, after that, Rocky starts training and starts kicking ass and starts looking more like Apollo and training. And then he goes and he smacks Clubber and makes him his bitch. Takes that title back. But it was that talk that I listened to that talk every day, 5 or 6 times a day, throughout work, throughout my drive, throughout everything, just to remember what it meant and what I was dealing with personally. And I'm glad that happened. I'm glad that I went through that. I'm going to pause right here, and I'm going to make sure that my cameras are still recording, okay? It's always a good thing to record on 2 cameras, because one of them's going to stop recording at some point. Oh, fuck. Okay. So I had the whole week to prep mentally. I was watching the video, and I was feeling it. I was feeling back to my normal self, like back to the weightlifter that I was before I had gotten hurt. And I felt good for the first time in a while. And it was invigorating. It was one of those things where I felt like I was back but I hadn't done anything with it, because I hadn't put myself to the test. I wasn't sure where I was at. And lo and behold, the first time that we were going to do it was going to be the time on the platform. And so be it. So I had to get through the first couple days of work, and that fear stings. It leaves a scar on you. It doesn't go away. And every single time you're going to kind of swipe over it, and you'll swipe over it and you'll nick it. And I don't know if you ever cut a scar, but a scar hurts when you cut it. It just reopens and everything just comes out. But that fear was still there. And then, I finished work on Wednesday, and when I drove home, I bought the Rocky soundtrack. After listening to David Goggins, there's this one song that's called oh my God, why am I blanking on it? I listen to it so much. Oh my goodness. Okay, it'll come to me. But it's a song. Oh, Going the Distance. Fuck. It's called Going the Distance. It's a song that plays through a couple of the fight scenes and a couple of the training montages. But that song is my alarm in the morning. Because I listen to it and I want to get out of bed. It makes me want to get out of bed. So Going the Distance. And throughout the week, I was listening to that song on repeat, and Eye of the Tiger as well. Because Eye of the Tiger is if you listen to the lyrics, it's exactly what happened to Rocky. It's exactly what happened to me. But there's a specific line. It's when he's talking about, oh, Maul, shut up. Maul, shut up. Shut up. Maul, shut up. There's a specific lyric in the song where he's talking about when you trade your passion for glory. So many times it happens too fast. You trade your passion for glory. Don't lose your grip on the dreams of the past. You must fight just to keep them alive. Is it I am the tiger? Is it real fight? Just so you know where you're on the song. But yeah, those lyrics ring true. It's the same thing. It was, I'm sitting there thinking about the glory of what it is that I do and where I want to be, as opposed to the fact that I've come from being nothing in a sport that I didn't know anything about, and then getting pretty adequate at it. I traded the passion I had for it for that glory, and it definitely showed. So we drive out to Vegas Thursday. We drive out to Vegas on Thursday. No one competes, so we have a full day. We have a full day of just chilling and relaxing, maxing all cool. We watch some weightlifting. We do the training hall. We chill out. We do all that cool stuff. And then Saturday rolls along, and on Saturday we have Bailey and Megan compete, and they both competed. And it's, for me personally, it's really, I get a lot of anxiety watching both of them lift, really, because I know what it's like to be out on a platform like that, and it's, oh my goodness. Like I understand. Oh my God, I feel so bad for Sage for having to watch us all lift, because it's so emotionally draining. You should see some of the pictures of how she's looking at me when I lift. She's covering her face because she's so anxious. But so they they had their fun over the course of the week, and then it was time for them to compete. They competed, and throughout the days, I'm just trying to sit there and survive and relax and make sure I'm not doing anything that's overexerting. Even though we're in Vegas and we're walking everywhere, going to all these stores and eating. But I think it, unfortunately for Bailey, she bombed out on clean and jerk. And that last one was really shitty because she had ended up hurting her elbow on a jerk that she had made. And it really sucks. So her and I just kind of stayed in. We went to dinner that night. We stayed in, and it just kind of hit me that night where it was like, okay, this is happening. I didn't compete until 6 p.m. the next day. So I had a full day ahead of me of just walking around and thinking about what I'm going to do. Trying not to let this fear just come and take me. And I hope that I try my best. So that morning, I spent a lot of the day alone. That morning I woke up, went downstairs to watch some weightlifting, watch Maddie Rogers and that whole session. That was really cool. And I went to the buffet alone, sat there and ate by myself, and tried to sit and not let the fear come out. And it was not working. The closer I got to it, it was not working. So what I had to do is it's just what I had to do. I had to sit there and write myself a note. I wrote myself a note from an outside perspective. It was my other self talking, and the other self is something that we'll talk about when we talk about Napoleon Hill and his rules and all that stuff. But there are two versions of you. There's a version of you three versions. There's a version of you that's normal. It's easy, yes, no decisions, just knows right from wrong. Then there's a version of you that's fearful and depraved and anxious, all the bad qualities that steer you to make negative decisions. Most people run on those two. Now there's a third person, an other self, that is nothing but courage and decision making and life. Like everything that you've learned from life, it's all stored in this one person. This is who you are and who you can become, but you have to let your other self take control. So I sat and I wrote a note to myself saying, I'm done. I'm done letting you I'm done letting you take control and steer us into something that's so full of fear and anxiety that we can't perform. As soon as we step up from this restaurant, from this table, I'm in control. I'm in control. Your other self are in control. Is in control. I'm the person that was made through all the struggle and all the pain and everything that we've experienced. I'm that muscle. I'm that reflex. I'm that person, and I'm going to take control. You can reap all the benefits from my taking control and everything that we do. You can take all of it, but I'm in control. No more fear, no more anxiety, no nothing of any outside. All that's left is just you in the bar. And this was at 11 in the morning. So I was my other self for a really long time. But when I stood up, I stood up out of that restaurant, I left, I felt like a weight was lifted off of me. I felt like there was this really big, really heavy load that was just kind of lifted from me, where I didn't have to worry about anything else. I didn't have to worry about work, fear of getting hurt, anxiety, pain, all the stuff that I've been worrying about for 6 months. I didn't worry about that anymore. So I went, finished watching this session, went back up to the room. I rented Rocky 3, and I was just enough time to watch it before I had to go weigh in. But I had stopped it on purpose at the part right after Adrian tells Rocky about everything that happens, or just tells him about how you have to get rid of that fear. Because right after that, after the training montage, it was after the training montage. That's what it was. It was after the training montage, where right before the fight, because I told myself that I was going to watch it after I had gone and done what I had to do the same way that he did. I was going to watch that fight afterwards. So I'm sitting in the room, and I'm letting the pressure come. I'm letting it come and try to crush me, but I'm not. It's not happening. It's not working, and I'm finally ready. So it's time to go weigh in. And just walk downstairs, weigh in, declare the numbers, all that stuff, and that was good. It was a good weigh-in session. I saw a bunch of guys that I didn't know and a bunch of guys that I did know, and I weighed in at 145, so I wasn't too big. And then I went back upstairs, and we just kind of sat there and laid around for a little bit. And then it was time to go downstairs, and I put my headphones on, and I started listening to Going the Distance. And man, you guys have to listen to that song. Just look up Going the Distance on YouTube or whatever. You listen to that song, you understand. I listened to that on repeat the entire way down. And then we sat down in the corner, and then took my headphones off, and then just let the noise of the back hall of the training hall just kind of make its way into my head. And it's really loud. There's people cheering. There's weights, stuff, the smell. Think of your element of what it is that you do, whether it's baseball or football or weightlifting or, performing on stage, acting, filmmaking, editing, anything. Think of your element, the top level of your element, and the place where you have to perform the best, and what that environment is, and that's what it was. That's where it is for me. Earlier in the day, I had messaged one of my good friends, JP, that I met at Coach B's house. He's a retired Navy SEAL. He lives out in I'm not sure where he lives. He's a retired Navy SEAL, and he's probably been in some shit. I kind of assume that he's been in some shit because he's been a Navy SEAL. And from everything I know about Navy SEALs, those guys are hard. So I assume that he would know something about fear. So I messaged him earlier in the day when I was at breakfast, and I asked him, "Hey, JP, I'm at the same hotel, same platform. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm sure that there's been times when you've been scared. What have you done to deal with fear?" And he didn't answer me. He was actually on a plane, and Megan and Bailey came back to take my phone away from me so they record my lifts before the competition. And then they came back and they were like, "Hey, there's a message for you." And it was JP. And the message was, regardless of how you feel, you have to remember your training. Remember everything that you've done up until that moment, and remember your training. And that was it. He said, "Get some." And fucking A. if that wasn't one of the most motivating things that's ever happened or ever said to me. Before we started the competition, I sat down with Sage. And she asked me, because I think a couple days before we had left, she had to do a CrossFit workout. She had to do like 19.2 or something. It's a bunch of clean and jerks and like toes to bar. And her loving words, she said that she bitched out on it. And she did. I saw her do it, and she quit. And she was telling me about how before she went into it, she knew that she wasn't feeling good, and she was telling Charlie, her coach, about how she felt, and he asked her, "What are you scared of?" And she told him. She told him, and she got it all out there. And then she asked me the same question. She asked me, "What are you scared of?" And I had held this in for 6 months. I had not told her about how I felt, what I felt. None of it. I hadn't. And it finally came out where I told her that I was afraid that I was going to hurt myself, and in the course of hurting myself, I was going to lose the ability to lift weights. I was going to lose my talent and my skill. I was going to lose my friends. I was going to lose my coach. I was going to lose her. I was going to lose everything that I have built in the last couple of years. I was afraid that I was going to lose it. And I'm sitting there in the back room next to my coach, next to Sage, and I'm just sitting there crying. And there's all these big burly men, and I didn't give a shit because it's my journey. It's my sport. It's what I do with it. And after that had happened again, the second time in that day, I felt like a huge weight had been lifted before I actually had to go and lift those heavy weights. And it was like, that was the last thing that I needed. I felt like I could do anything. Our last competition that we had before it, like a month or so ago, I bombed out on snatch. I didn't make any. I hit my ankle with the bar. There's a contusion on it. And then I didn't even do clean and jerk. I felt like I disappointed everybody. I felt like I ruined all the progress I had made. And again, it was because I was there for the wrong reason. I was going through the motions of that competition and wanted to beat somebody instead of beating myself. So this meet was different from the get. It was me beating the best version of myself. And then the competition started. And then, warm-ups felt fine. Sage told me that she was going to start me a little lower, and we did, and that was fine. It didn't matter. All that mattered was how I did against myself. So I opened up a little bit lighter on snatch. I hit 135, and I missed the last two snatches, but that was okay because the real challenge was going to be in clean and jerk. We opened up with 173. Yeah, 173 on clean and jerk. And that felt great. I don't know if anybody knows anything about weightlifting, but when you're in the back room weights feel 1,000 times heavier than the weights on the platform. It's some weird phenomena, but god damn, do they feel heavy. So everything felt heavy. Everything felt terrible. But Sage was telling me how they were like the best clean and jerk she's ever seen. So I was like, okay, all right. So 173. And then we move up to 177, which at that point was the heaviest clean and jerk that I had done since the competition in September of 2018. And we went up there, and I went up there and I did it. I cleaned it, I jerked it, and I was happy with it. I was proud of it. It was kind of like one of those things that I needed, something heavier than 175 because I'd put so much pressure on myself. And then it was my final attempt, and she had bumped me from 180 to 181. She said, fuck it. fuck 181. Oh, fuck 180. We're going to go straight to 181. And I was, okay. I trust her. I trust her with my whole heart and my whole life that she knows what she's doing. So we went 181. I went up there. She told me that I had earned it, that I had earned that lift. I had earned 181, and there was no fear. There was no fear, no pain, no nothing. There was nothing there that was going to stop me from lifting that bar except myself. So I chalked up, put my feet in the resin. I walked up to the platform, rolled the bar a little bit forward because there's a divot. And while I was walking up to the bar, I just looked at it and I said, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, enough is enough. Just do it. Just do it. So I went up to it and I grabbed it, and it was probably one of the best clean and jerks that I've ever done in my entire life. It was really good. And there's a photo on that we got later on from Lifting Life, where I dropped the bar and I'm looking at the camera. I kind of look off to the side after I'd done it, and the look on my face, like I had already had tears in my eyes when the bar was coming down. Like, I was so relieved that bar didn't kill me. And it was amazing. I was really proud of that moment. All these lifts are on Instagram if you guys want to watch them. But it was one of those moments where it's kind of amazing what you can do when you think about it and you let your other self take control. You can do some amazing things. So I did that clean and jerk, and immediately I didn't care if it was red or if it was white. It was white, and I'd solidified it, and that had got me second place. But I didn't care about winning. I didn't care about getting any medals. That wasn't the point. It was just doing it. And that's how I know that I love the sport. It's not about the glory. It's the passion. So I hopped off the platform. When I hopped off the platform, I ran up to stage and I hugged her, and I started crying, like the most that I had probably cried in a long time, because I had done it, and I didn't think that I was capable of it until it was time to do it. Yeah, and then that got me the funny part about all of it is, I wasn't playing. I didn't try to win in clean and jerk. I didn't try to win anything. But with that 181 kilogram clean and jerk, that got me a gold medal in the clean and jerk portion of the competition. And it's probably the thing that I'm proud of the most, like, in my entire life. That's probably one of those things that that medal, it means the world to me. Like, I can't imagine. It was just kind of surreal. I didn't want to win. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to beat myself. And in that moment, in that opportunity, I ended up winning in the thing that I was scared to do the most, which goes to show you that you don't start growing, you don't start getting better until you fucking reach the upper maximum, that maximum level of your comfort zone. Yeah. So that was a competition. We left. We walked in the back. Sage told me that she was proud of me, and I was proud of myself. And I'm very fortunate and very lucky, and I love every bit of my team, my coach, everything. I love this sport. I love everything that I do. And then afterwards, they left because they had to go back home, and then Bailey and I went to Black Tap, and we had a really good really good burger, really good shake. And then we ended up coming home on that following Monday. And she's okay. She's doing better with her injury. I'm really excited to the other good news was on our way back from the meet, my coworker told me that he could cover my store for the weekend of nationals, which means that I can go to nationals, and I'm going to nationals, and we have 8 weeks to prep, and I'm excited to do that. If there's anything that you guys can take away from this episode, because I know it was a lot of weightlifting and a lot of talking about weightlifting, but fear is the ultimate motivator, because if you're not doing the things that scare you, you're not really, are you really living? Can you say that you're honestly living and doing the things that you're passionate about doing? I'm more proud of the fact that I'm more proud of the fact that I made that last clean and jerk to prove to myself that I can do it when all bets are off. Everything is against me. I talked to Bailey and Megan and Sage afterwards. I not so much Sage, but Bailey and Megan, they were like, yeah, we didn't really think that you were going to do it. I was like, thanks, guys. But I did it. And I'm really happy that I did it. So that was the trip. That was the weekend. That was the last couple weeks. And I hope that you guys all enjoyed my story, my podcast, and thank you guys for staying tuned in and staying keyed up on everything that's going on. And I appreciate you guys tuning in and making sure that you're getting your cues in and trying to find out the cues that work for you. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys. I love all you guys. And please feel free to reach out to me directly on the Gmail or the Gmail or the Instagram or my Instagram, whichever way you want to reach out to me. You have any questions, you want my advice, you want my take on some stuff, I would love to do that. Next episode I'm hoping to get some good emails or some good questions on some advice that I can hopefully give. I have a couple lined up, so that'll be fun. And I'm gonna definitely do some more in between cues. Hopefully the next one I can do is with Sage. We'll find some time to do it. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and thank you for listening to what I had to go through the last couple months, the last 6 months. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So thank you guys. Love you guys. You guys have a good night or good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're listening to this. All right. Goodbye.